Hello, everyone. It's Anthony Bandiero here, attorney and senior legal instructor for Blue Gold Law Enforcement Training, bringing a roadside chat. Let me answer a question that somebody asked about episode 561, having to do with reasonable suspicion stops and failing to identify. The officer said, "Hey, in number 561, you gave an example of a suspect refusing to identify themselves, and you cautioned officers against arresting them for failing to identify. Sure, a suspect may choose not to identify because they misunderstand their rights or something, right? Or they just want to remain silent. But a suspect may also choose not to identify to evade justice. They could be a fugitive from the law, and they could have recently committed a nearby, not yet reported crime and want to limit any record that they were in the area. Do you see any? Why don't these concerns give you good reason to arrest for failing to identify?" So let me just make sure we're on the same page here. In episode 561, I gave an example. I talked about the history of stop and identify, the Hannibal Supreme Court case, and so forth. And I said, these stop and identify statutes are for, not every state has them, but they're for a reason. They're there to help police investigate the crime at hand. Okay, so the example I gave was of stopping a shoplifter with reasonable suspicion. And in that state, there's a stop and identify statute, which kind of says those who are stopped, lawfully detained by law enforcement, shall identify themselves and so forth. Okay. So in the shoplifting case, the cops stopped the person, asked them for their ID. The person did not want to give up ID. And then after a minute or so of going back and forth with this person, the another officer said, "Hey, we got the shoplifter. That's not the person. They're on the other side of Walmart or whatever." And then I said, "What should you do with this person?" Right? What should you do? Should you keep pushing on and be like, "Hey, I know I no longer have reasonable suspicion for you. You're not the shoplifter. Fine. I stopped you lawfully initially. You didn't identify yourself. If you don't identify yourself, I'm going to arrest you." Is that what you should do? Or should you just let the person go and so forth? I suggested that you let the person go unless you have other reasons to believe that they are lying about who they are, or you have reasons to believe that they are a fugitive from justice, or you have reasons to believe that they did commit a crime and so forth. So the problem is that when we go to court and we are saying, "Your Honor, I continue to detain this person just to make sure they're not wanted or just to have a record of it and so forth," that doesn't sound like to me a recognized exception under the Fourth Amendment to keep detaining people against their will when they have not committed a crime. Reasonable suspicion, these stop and identify statutes are not just to make sure people are not wanted. They're not there just to make sure that if something happens later on, we know who that person is. What the intent behind them is to help figure out if they are involved in criminal activity that you're currently investigating. So, for example, if you stop somebody, for shoplifting and you have not dispelled your suspicions, running them and their criminal history will absolutely help you determine whether or not they're involved in this activity. Because if they have a long history of shoplifting, will that help you with your probable cause with the case at hand? The answer is yes. Same with auto burglary suspects and so forth. But at some point, if you just no longer have reasonable suspicion, like because your partner called you up and says that's not him, how is that ID solving any other crimes? And if we say, because he could be a fugitive from justice, we're just doing a what if. We're just doing a possibility, not a probability. And we cannot do any search or seizure, here a seizure, we cannot do a seizure on a possibility. We need some level of probability, which is a moderate chance of criminal activity. So that's the problem. Now, at the same time, my friends, if you want to disagree with me and there's another lawyer out there who's smarter than me and says, "You know what, I think Anthony's wrong," fine. That's fine. I'm just telling you what I teach my cops. What I teach my cops is the ice cube theory. And that came from an attorney called Dale Anderson. What the ice cube theory is that when you detain somebody, you get to detain them as much as you need to until the ice cube melts. The ice cube melts when you have dispelled your suspicions. And if your suspicions have dispelled, The ice cube melt, what does that mean legally? They have to be let go. And the fact that they didn't give you their ID initially, yeah, you can call it a crime. You can say, Anthony, but the crime has already occurred. They did not identify. I just don't think a lot of Supreme Courts out there are going to really condone that type of logic. I think what they're going to say is that's not the intent of the law. The intent of the law is to help you confirm or dispel your suspicions. And since you dispel them, the stop is over. Under the Fourth Amendment, let them go. But you can disagree with me all you want because we're still friends here. That's what this is. This is what this is all about. So thank you, my friends, for watching the channel. If you have any more questions, let me know. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends. Until next time, my friends, you stay safe.